This is the conduit. What time is it? Well, it is the favorite, your favorite, the best hour of your week. It is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. It is episode number 57. I don't have a horn today because, as you can see from the background, I'm not in my regular place. I'm down at New Horizon Ministries. However, that's beside the point. We got a show to get into, and we're going to get right on into it. So you know who I have to bring forward, right? And I don't even have a machine to do an applause, so I'm going to have to give a real one. Hey, let's big up for Mark Boatwright Frost. How you doing there, sir?
I'm doing really well, but I do want to call out the fact that Marwan just gave me the clap.
Wow. So I had to. I'm low tech today. How was that?
That was excellent. I was laughing my ass off. So no more ass, none at all.
So how you doing?
I'm doing really good. It has been a week. It has been a week. It has been a good week. We had actual people at the workshop who got it and engaged.
Okay.
And are committed to coming back. We have more people coming to the workshops. I'm actually, Rob, TMI guys. anyway, and the workshops were everything I'd hoped they'd be, and where we were going with them. It was fun. Had a great meeting today with a gentleman named Matthew, who's very interested in helping drive the Power for All project.
Okay.
And he's in the solar industry, so he gets the challenges and understands the methodology behind our strategy.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that.
Yeah, he is a great guy. He's one of the people that came to the workshop and actually came to the coffee beforehand, and it was good. We had a lady named Vanessa who works very closely with the homeless community, and we talked about possible strategies to get to find ways to bring more voice to the homeless community.
Okay. All right. Well, like I
Because
said, I'm looking forward to hearing about that, and I'm glad you had a great week. It's not always, this work is hard, and usually our conversations are, quite serious, and trying to express a sense of urgency with what's going on. And so the fact that you're feeling good, feeling great, how are you, is a fantastic thing.
it is. And today we're going to be talking about the book Ishmael.
Okay. Well,
And
I
actually,
still have not read it, so I'm going to
well,
be.
and I gave you a year, so here we are. I'm
Well,
gonna.
remember we had a conversation a few months ago, and I met with the librarian, our adult librarian Priya, and to get it into an audio form. So I just need to check back on that so I can listen to the book.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about it today. And one of the things that Matthew and I talked about was Ishmael, and um, the book covers a lot of stuff, and 90% of it I'd give a damn about, um, because authors put their opinions out
Okay.
and their thoughts about how things work or how things should work. And Quinn did some of that toward the end of the book. And there are online forums everywhere that will focus on those things and say he was a good man or he was a bad man, and our cancel culture in full flow about it can't nothing he said can be good because he believes this, which is horse manure. And back to mucking out the stables. Um, but what Ishmael did do better than any other thing I've ever read is point out that we stepped off our evolutionary path. And when we did that, forces came into play that put us in a cultural path that could lead us nowhere but where we are today. And he did a
Mm,
masterful job of showing how one thing built on the other, built on the other, built on the other to get us here. But before we talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the misconceptions that people have about humanity.
okay.
Okay, and
Misconceptions
and,
on
and I'm gonna
humanity.
and I know you're in a church, so but I am going to say this. The absolute hornswoggle of believing that we were been on this planet for 6,000 years, we aren't going to talk about because it's complete manure. Science has blown that one completely out of space, so let's just put it to bed. There's no conspiracy. We've been here way longer than 6,000 years. So,
Okay. Well, we have a different belief system, so we'll just go from there.
okay, you think that mankind has only been here for 6,000 years?
I'm saying that we don't need to have a conversation about it. We'll just
Okay,
move from here.
right. So if you could put up the swirly graphic.
All right. Oops. Hold on
And
there.
not swirly as in giving somebody a swirly, but
Oh, it's in the
okay,
back. Let me
bring it
reload it so
forward.
it's in the front of us.
Okay.
I guess it's a decent background, but I don't think we want it as a background, right?
No, I'd actually want to be
But you
able to,
want people to see it.
yeah, and if we can get it a little smaller so I can
Yes, it
capture
will.
the whole thing.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Gotta hide
Okay,
for a minute.
so this is a graphic example of how long the Earth has been around. And if you see the very small print on the bottom here, it says 4.6 billion years ago, the Earth started to form. Okay, and as you swirl up, you start seeing where life is coming onto the planet. 354 million years ago, 300 years ago, dinosaurs were about 44, 144 million
You're okay.
back to 300 million years ago. So they were around for a while. And you start looking at 6.5 million years, you start seeing more of life forming on the planet, more like us, in form of mammals and less reptilian, more land based. And then it shows man at the very, very end. And my camera's in the way, which is why I'm looking around it. At the very, very end. Now, I want to talk about that for a second. Most science references say man has been on this planet for 100,000 years.
Okay.
Except they're only talking about Homo sapiens and not any of the mankind evolutionary path prior to that. I would argue that mankind, as in Homo erectus and such, has been around a lot longer than that. So
What's
if you
a
could bring,
Homo erectus?
well, to tell you that, bring up the other slide if you would, or the other picture if you would.
Okay.
Okay, so the top bar here shows.
I didn't know we're gonna be talking about dinosaurs today. It's pretty cool. What's your favorite dinosaur?
T-Rex.
T-Rex?
Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus?
Oh gosh. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. I knew you were gonna say pterodactyl.
Yeah, isn't it pterodactyl? Just joking. All right, so the top bar here is the kind of the man, the evolutionary path of man, from the one that Shalenithropus, and I'm not going to try and pronounce these because I'll torture them. But about 3 million years ago, you start seeing more of the skull shape, more of the smaller skull shape. And then you've got in 2 million years ago about Homo habilis, then Homo erectus. And Homo erectus and then Homo Neanderthal, and then Homo sapiens. So mankind has been evolving into Homo sapiens for about 3 million years. So I just kind of want to have people wrap their head around that we've been on this planet a long time. Okay. Now we'll go back to Daniel Quinn. So if you want to drop that down, I just want to point that out to people. We'll go back to talking about Quinn. Quinn doesn't talk about 3 million years ago. For 3 million years, 2 million some odd thousand years, we lived as hunter-gatherers. We were evolving. We were forming tribes. We were learning about the wheel. We were learning about, not the wheel yet, but we were learning about how to feed our families. We were here for a very, very long time. Much longer than we have been in the Industrial Revolution, which we all think is like how we are. We were on this planet evolving for almost 3 million years. Now, Homo sapiens has been around for 100,000 years. In 15,000 years ago, which is 985,000 years after Homo sapiens, we came into what is today Syria, or what is known as the Fertile Crescent, and we discovered agriculture. Really good thing. Means we didn't have to wander around. We could provide our own food. Really important change in how mankind was. For 285,000 years, we've been hunter-gatherers. We've been gathering bushes and learning what to eat, and not kill us. We've been hunting animals. And then 15,000 years ago, we learned how to grow food. So for the first time, we had abundance as human beings. And that is a good thing. And we learned, that we could grow food, and we weren't going to strip the area of all the food and have to move on and live a nomadic life, which is what we'd been doing. We'd come into an area, we would eat all the food, and then we'd move to another area where we would proceed to eat all the food. And this is how we went on. So that in and of itself is a good thing. It's a game changer for mankind and our evolutionary process. But then someone got the idea that, hey, if we locked up the food and protected the food from everything, then we would be able to have more food and we'd be able to grow and do different things. And that was the first step to creating the hierarchical structure that we have. And what happened over the next 1,000 years or so is we discovered how to assimilate other tribes into our way of being. And that was forming the culture that became the taker culture that is the culture we have today.
Mm.
And over the 15,000 years in between, you can watch as we have grown our ability to assimilate other peoples and take resources and lock them up and divvy them out to the important people and have the other people be workers. And Egypt is a brilliant example of that with the pharaohs. But there are literally hundreds of thousands of examples of the same thing. Our history books only
Today
cover
could be a current
fractions of them.
example, right?
Huh?
I said today could be a current example.
Yeah, there are literally hundreds of thousands of examples. And every time it gets to the point where the people supporting the few felt abused to a certain degree, they would, in fact, revolve and have a revolution, take down the leadership, but we would put the same process right back in place. And all we really did was shift the top. Which also makes the argument the argument against conspiracy theory, saying it's the same group of people all the way through for 15,000 years being on top. That's not true, because we revolved that, but we have created a culture where all of us are scrabbling to try to be that top person because that's a secure position. Now, I'm not qualified to, nor do I want to go into all the psychological things that go along with that. But we can see from history and we can see from the examples that Quinn brilliantly lays out how that could go forward. And my epiphany that brought us to the point of founding first the Clean Technology Trade Alliance and now Resilient Ecosystems and pushing the Kitsap Resiliency Project was understanding that we had in fact stepped off our evolutionary path that we had been on for 3 million years. And granted, we weren't building supercomputers after 3 million years. We weren't, doing all of these technological things, but we've only been doing that for 100, 200 years.
Well, the scary thing, Mark, is, we're not even on Kardashev scale yet. And I fear we don't even become a type 1 civilization the way that we're going, today.
No, we won't. We will be a no-type civilization. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll have found it and brought it out as an example. But there's and I'll put a link in this video as soon as I can find it. There's a brilliant video to show what the Earth would look like 400 years after mankind dies off.
Mm. Well,
And let me give
thriving
you
and luscious and beautiful.
let me do the spoiler for you. There's
Mhm.
no sign of mankind left. It's like we didn't exist.
Mm. Well, wouldn't
Except,
some of the buildings remain? I mean, the pyramids have been here for quite a while.
yeah, and they're maintained a lot too. And some of those will, some of the pyramids, some of the there will be some remnants left. There was a word I was looking for, I couldn't find. And more importantly, our nuclear waste issue will still be around just fine because we're talking hundreds of thousands of years before any of that gets a half life and goes away.
Hmm.
So there are some aspects of our life that will be around, but for the most part, there won't be much left of us. And the pyramids were built in a very specific way with very specific technology. Do you think that your house will be around in 200 years
Oh no, everything is designed to fail.
and fall apart? There'll be some things left, but will we be able to see them? Will they be uncovered by trees or whatever? Who knows? The point is, if humankind wants to move into the future, they're going to have to find a different way to get on to a different. We're going to have to find a way to a different evolutionary path. And it's what I talk about when I say intentional evolution. We know a lot more than we did 100,000 years ago. And we can make choices today about where we're going to go. But choices are being made for us based on short term thinking. And if that continues to happen, we will not be here very soon.
Facts. Looking, the outlook isn't looking that great right now.
So that's why I push Ishmael, not because of the um, in the boards. There's a lot of people who say, "Well, Daniel Quinn says, and we believe that we should go back to the caves, and start again from there." And that's not what he said, and it can be interpreted. And he didn't really go into great depth about it, but in his book Beyond Civilization, he basically said we have to find a way forward, and I have no idea what that is.
Hmm.
And so that's what the Kitsap Resiliency Project is about: is a step toward a way forward.
Why did people misunderstand him saying we should go back to the caves?
I've never quite figured that out, but I will tell you, and I'm sure you have this experience too. I talk to a lot of people that seem to be really cool people and have the best intentions toward the planet, and they all want to move on to 10 acres of land and go back to the farm and produce their own food and the rest of it. And I understand that. I understand the drive to do that, but simple math says that can't happen. Even setting aside the cost of land and real estate and all of the other things that go on with it and all of the hiccups you're going to have with that issue, um, if you want to have a life like we have now, finding a rural piece of property that you can guarantee the water and generate power, then you don't have internet. I mean, there's all of these things that go with it. And let's talk about the people who, and God bless them. I love them. I love the fact that they want to grow food. They want to support their fellow humans. They want to have community, and so do I. But math tells me I'm not going to have it that way. And the second piece of it is these people have no idea what going back to the land looks like.
It's very romantic for me to think about having a really nice house with the big porch with the swing and sipping iced tea or lemonade in the sunset and oh we're gonna go and plant the crops and do this and that. It's like yeah, you don't know work. And I was a brick mason. It's like, yeah, you have no idea, you're not ready for that. You don't want that life.
No, there's a whole lot of stuff, and being the age I am, I think back to Green Acres
Mm.
and the Eddie Albert and Zsa Zsa Gabor Manhattanites that moved onto the farm and the whole history with that. I'm just like laugh, but it's a beautiful idea. But one of the reasons that we pushed when we talk about the Connected Neighborhoods project, and the first thing we talk when we do the barbecues is I start talking about a community garden. is because someone in your neighborhood, probably several someone's garden. And then there are people like you who will be happy to buy seed, but aren't probably going to get out and weed the plants. So people all can bring different things to make a community garden work. But in our society, our culture, the taker culture that we have developed over the last 15,000 years, has done a marvelous job of keeping us from even beginning conversations with each other. It's made a tremendous job of creating fear so that we don't.
Just thinking about, this conversation, it makes me wonder, will people change on their own, or will government have to change them?
Yeah, I'm not seeing how that's going to work. I mean, there are plenty of efforts in government right now that are going to change certain other people. I mean, there's this whole attack on trans and LGBTQ community right now that I'm looking at, going, why can't you guys just stay in your own bedrooms and not worry about what's going on in mine or anybody else's? I mean, it's none of your damn business. And I'm not, and I'm kind of with some folks about, I don't really want the government to be that intrusive. And the problem is we have a very political government, not a very governing government.
Oh no, I'm not saying that the government as it is
Today,
erected today, then it might actually have to move away from a democracy in order to save people.
I think we can move away from a democracy. I don't think we need to move away from a democracy. I think democracy is perfectly fine. I think we need to separate the idea that capitalism and democracy are linked at the hip. Capitalism is an economic system. That's all it is. And we have an unregulated capitalism. And actually, Matthew the other day corrected me on this, and I can't remember the word he used, but he said that oligarchy isn't quite the term for what we have, or corporatocracy, whatever it is, because it's in a democracy and it's running wild. There's another word for it that's more appropriate, but I don't know what that is at the moment. But so I'm going to use oligarchy. We have a unregulated corporate entities managing and running our government through financial influence. And I think that is a safe statement to make that is almost unchallengeable because everybody pretty much knows it. Our saving grace is the fact that there aren't a lot of corporations working together to get things done. Otherwise, we could be really screwed. What is happening is they all have their own special interests, and that's what they're putting money into, and that's what they're influencing. And frequently they're at conflict with each other, which is probably the only thing that has saved us so far. But we, the people, need to step forward and change that. But that means, oh, wait, we have to talk to each other? I can't do that. That's just too much to think about. I mean, we need to go back to embracing our humanity. And if there's any statement that I make that's like, we need to go back to the caves, I'm not saying we have to go back to the caves. We have to find a way forward, but we do have to go back to embracing our humanity and working together. If we don't, we're lost.
I know. And again, I feel you 100%. I'm just, in my mind, the trajectory we're on, it would appear that government would have to shift and then force it on the people to change because we're not changing on our own. And unfortunately, by the time we wake up, like, I don't know what to think about this whole AI thing, but it's definitely maturing at quite the rate.
Sort of. There's still a technology lag, and that's the part that it doesn't worry me too much because I know our current technology, our current chip source, our current ability to provide a platform for it is pretty limited. Now that could change, but I'm not seeing investment in that would make a change. I mean, we don't have the capability to really do quantum computing on a real level yet. Now that may change, But I'm not so worried about that as I am worried about our inability to come together. Now, to make you feel better and to put you on the same page of why I'm feeling better, we are reaching a tipping point. We've talked
Are we?
and we've talked about the science of tipping points.
Okay.
Never doubt that a small group of dedicated people can change the world. In fact, it is the only thing that ever has. By Margaret Mead. Well, science has now proven that's the case. Somewhere between 16 and 20% of the people start focusedly, concentratedly moving in one direction. Everybody else will follow. And that doesn't mean the government has to step in. It means that we have to start leading together. But that means we have to talk to each other. Now, how is government going to change to get to a point where they can help us along with this path when understanding that government doesn't do anything until 75% of the people are already doing it? And then they'll jump out in front with a flag and say, follow me, look what we've done. That's how government here works. So if you want to change government, you need to bring a group of people large enough to make them wake up and understand that we will change you or you will not be there. And that's the way it's going. And I guess that's revolutionary in its way, but it's revolutionary using the tools that are provided to us by the Constitution of the United States. Okay, tipping points. And it's, okay, so they say 25%. There's many studies that say 16 to 20%.
Yeah, I've seen 15, I've seen 12.
Yeah. So I just average it between 15 and 20%. And that should, get us where we need to be.
I'll put this article in the chat for folks.
Okay.
And I just Googled it really quick. This is from the Scientific American. So, I'm neither endorsing or unendorsing, just a crude definition, commentary on it.
And then there's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Tipping Points. I actually have a copy of it, but he focuses more on the commercial and retail side of things, and say that you've got buying trends and such. Social change is a little different, but it's the same principle. If we all decide that we want drinking water that comes out of our tap that is actually clean and healthy for us, we can make that happen as a people. If we want power on our roofs, generating power so that we don't have a blackout. I was talking to Matthew, again, he's a solar guy. And one of the things that I brought up to him is that I haven't seen a lot of focus on. Okay, Kitsap County is considered rural, okay? And there are a lot of people here who are on wells. And if the power goes out, they don't have water. Their animals don't have water. That's a big problem. So you can bring your generator out, fire up your generator and pump the water up. Or maybe you can put a solar generator out on your water. So if the power goes out, your solar generator kicks in and you continue to get water.
I've been actually looking into doing some emergency management preparedness for this summer, actually.
Excellent.
And making sure that I have some power and that I'm going to be able to stay cool, and also really trying to commit to growing this season.
Well, we can sit down and have a conversation offline because I'm very careful about using brand names while I'm having these conversations. But I can tell you some of the things about some of the products that are out there. And there's some really good ones out there. So, yeah. It is. I did find out something else. The one thing that there's a lot more to net metering than I thought there was. So I'm being open-minded. But one thing that net metering does not cover is ground-based solar panels. They have to be mounted to the roof. Otherwise, it's not under net metering.
Wow.
Which I think is a serious limitation
in
the way that they're thinking about this.
So that seems like that would be one thing that we would have to advocate for change, right?
Yes, it absolutely would. Understanding our food situation and coming up with strategies. And actually, the strategies are largely in place. The edges of the puzzle are there, but nothing's going to change until people show up. Sitting in your home complaining on Facebook might make you feel better, but it's not actually changing anything. You really do need to show up and start working together to make some changes. And they can be made. So you can, feel good about change being made, but you have to show up. Otherwise, you can continue to post on Facebook all you want. It's not really going to do anything.
As always, I always feel like, folks need, this little checklist that they can, when we complete our list, we feel really good and it gives us a little boost to keep going. Like, all right, I came on Saturday to the workshop. I met with coffee. I met with my neighbor. I talked to someone new. I discussed something that was important to me, whether it was food for all or energy for all or whatever. And so they have this. I think that might actually be a helpful thing and almost make it a challenge. Like, can you do these things in a week or in a month?
I am actually putting together a flyer for the network neighborhood. There's a reason that we need to get that out there because someone is actually going to start driving that with us and reaching out to neighborhoods on a much faster growing way. And I might just put the back page of it be a checklist.
Okay.
Because that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that'd be really helpful. And you get busy and just living the day to day, raising your kids, going to work, doing whatever you do. And then when you turn your gaze to, okay, I do want to do this work. This is important. You have to rethink about what it is that you need to do to push this, to bring your puzzle piece forward. Then it feels like they're just starting back at zero. So if they have something and it's just kind of built for them, I think that might be a great tipping point for them.
Absolutely. And also remember that the workshop series is designed to create the trainers of the next generation. So when you go through the series, you will learn what it is and how we got here, how to change things effectively. And then, you'll provide the tools and we will say, here's some of the framework that we have, but you're going to bring something I never saw.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that people bring their values, their thoughts themselves to the next generation of training. Because otherwise because it's, I limit it by my views. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I like it.
So that's the whole point. You learn, you start teaching it your way, and then you start getting the diversity that is necessary in input and output to create the picture of the human future.
Got me thinking.
Uh-oh.
I'm wondering if I can do something this in the second quarter here and try to rally folks together, on a common cause and just activate them.
Well, that's what we've been trying to do. Might just get some of them to the workshops and we'll have a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't cost you anything except an hour and a half, and you might come out of there energized and with some tools to help you get it going forward.
I like it.
So, and that's our job is to provide tools. It's not my job to change the world because I don't have the bandwidth, the capability, the charisma, or the resources to do that. Nobody does. But together we do. You may not have $1 in your wallet, but you bring yourself to the table and that adds the resources. And it's a big, big, big resource piece.
Yeah, that's a true story.
And that's what we've been saying all the way along is that you are the tool you're a tool. We are the tools together that make change. And it's not scary. It's a matter, well, it is scary that you have to learn something new. And, I was talking to Matthew this morning, we were talking about solar and some of the people that come back with but isn't that, if we have too much solar, aren't we going to be taking the energy from the sun?
What?
Yeah, they think that if they get solar and their neighbor has solar, then there won't be enough energy to go around from the sun. True story. People actually say that.
I shouldn't laugh because everyone's entry point is somewhere different. There's definitely things that I don't know about. Oh goodness. Oh,
You needed that laugh, right?
that's a new one. Oh goodness, yes.
But I mean, he gets challenges like this when he's selling it. And I said, so what are people afraid of? And he says,
But you know what? You can build on that though, Mark, because that is at least an empathetic viewpoint on, hey, if everyone has these, then there might not be enough for everyone. So at least their heart's in the right place.
absolutely. I mean, no argument there. Their science not so much, but their heart. Um, but the point is that people challenge solar because they're afraid of change. They would rather have the broken stuff we have now than take the chance on something new that would work better. And why are we so afraid of change? Because our experience says that if we don't hold on to what we've got, it'll get taken away from us and we'll have less. And we're already struggling just to feed ourselves.
Yeah, well, change is definitely steeped in fear mongering for sure.
Mm-hmm. So the best way to get people engaged in that is to make it not so scary. And Matthew's doing a outreach program where he's going to be showing a PBS film about solar, and he's going to go to his customers who already have it and ask them to invite their neighbors, and they're going to cater it, and they're going to have this conversation, and they're going to be handing out flyers from us on network neighborhoods.
I wonder because I don't know what it takes for a homeowner to get solar panels, right? I know there's some rebates if they want to do that, but they have to occur the upfront cost. And if they were to shift that and create some kind of a program where there's a subsidy either for the homeowners and or for the renters, right? Which is obviously an upgrade for the homeowner that is renting their property out to be upgraded to solar so that they're not incurring that upfront cost, right? Because that just slows the whole process down. We'll be here for decades trying to, transition into using that energy source.
Well, that's the end game for the Power for All project, is to create utility models that are true utility models, not someone selling you power, but someone providing infrastructure so that you can generate your own power. The upfront cost would then be mitigated because all you're paying for is the infrastructure cost, which would have been put in by the utility.
Right.
So you'd have to pay $100 a month for infrastructure, but you're generating your own power. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just wonder what do you do with these oil companies and everything else that spends millions of dollars in lobbying to keep the status quo and slow it down. And
well, first of all, you don't protest it, because the minute you protest it, you bring it to their attention and they spend billions of dollars to slow it down. You just do it. You come together on grassroots networks, you bring enough people together, you have the manpower to force the issue, and you do it. You make the change.
So let me ask you, should we dismantle that sector?
No.
Or do we find a way to build with them?
I think that you find the organic solution. But once you have people moving in that direction, the organic solution will present itself. And that sector could become your biggest ally once they realize that they aren't going to get paid for what they've been doing.
Well, and that's what I mean, right? So, you've got these oil companies, right? And they don't want to lose their market share and their revenue generating.
But they see that coming anyhow. But that's coming anyhow because oil is going away. It's a resource that we are burning at high rates of speed, and it's going away. And they know that they only have decades left before it's gone, and they know that electric cars are coming and that there's other solutions that are on the table. They're just milking it for what they can get it right now.
So,
because I paid
but
$4
that's what I'm
a
saying.
gallon. Huh?
So why don't we do something novel and say, how do we help them transition into that, since that's what they're motivated by, right? And if they already have the infrastructure to do this, I know it's a total different thing,
Mhm.
and we don't necessarily want to put the same overlords of our energy in control of that. But is there a novel solution where they're in partnership, where they can still exercise the gains of capitalism,
Yes, but not
but they can move society into this way faster?
well. Yes and no,
Hmm.
but not in the way you're thinking about it. If you think of a corporation, if you think of government as machines that have programming and they are going to follow that programming no matter what until they're reprogrammed,
Right.
and how they get reprogrammed is by people. There's no one really in charge of corporations. There are people who play roles in leadership in the corporations, but they do it within a very, very narrow parameter within the programming of the machine. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Okay. So there's no one in the corporation who's going to go, oh, well, let's do this. There are the board of directors who might or might not, and actually there was a group who bought who came together and bought, I think it was the majority share of Exxon, and started changing how Exxon does things because they came in to do that. But that's how it would work. You'd have to have a group of people who could bring the resources together to actually buy the shares of the organization, come onto the board, and change the direction. But then you have to deal with legal challenges and all the rest of it. That's one way. The other way is to get the people in the corporations that work in the corporations and maybe the board members by having people in their neighborhood bring them together and show them a different future, and then they can start in a way without revolutionary, but they can start reprogramming the corporation because they see a different way of doing things, and they can do it from inside the corporation. The corporation itself is a machine. It doesn't care about us. It doesn't care about inputs. It cares about the goals that were set within the programming.
Right.
Government's the same way. Politicians, they make promises about all kinds of things that they have no power to change. The machine is the machine is the machine. The way the machine is changed is when people come together and change it. So that's how you do that. Because there's no consciousness in a corporation to get them to do something different. And when you start understanding that, you understand how you can actually affect change there.
Well, I just hope it won't be too late.
Well, clock's ticking.
It surely is.
Yeah, are you aware of the doomsday clock?
I am. And they just ticked it up again, right?
Yeah, about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's now not only nuclear war, but it's a lot of other things are being taken into consideration.
Yeah, I was gonna actually cover that in another show. Can't remember what this viral thing is going around at these hospitals. Have you heard about that?
No.
Don't remember what it's called. Let's see if I can find it here. I may not be able to find it in our time here, but
Okay. But anyway, there's another virus, as in a virus like COVID, or
no, maybe it's a bacteria. Maybe it's
uh,
not viral.
well,
Uh,
hospitals are a hotbed for that.
yeah, I'm not seeing it here. Oh, here we go. This is from the CDC.
Okay.
Antibiotic resistant germs in hospitals
Yeah.
becoming more difficult to treat.
Yeah, you see one of those about every year or two.
Yeah.
Hospitals have the nuke it until it's dead philosophy on dealing with germs and bacterias. Trouble is that nature abhors a vacuum, and they mutate to be stronger and harder to kill. we don't have a holistic view of how to deal with things or even a humanistic view. We tend to use the nastiest chemicals we can find to try and kill it. Is that really the best way?
Well, that's why I shouldn't be in in that space. Oh, here it is. What's today's date? Is today the 29th?
Yes, it is.
Oh, let me pull this article up. All right. And of course, it's sometimes you wonder, we just had this new show on HBO, The Last of Us, and then this is, here, which is I think just a coincidence because the videos game has been out for years, right?
Mhm.
But I'll just read it here. This is dated today, and this is from phys.org. A new drug resistant fungus is spreading in hospitals. Is it the last of us for real?
Is that the way we approach healthcare and the way we approach medicine is horrific. Um, Doctors, I'm going to step out on this is my personal opinion from my personal research. I'm not going to say it's a hand of God down thing, but it seems to me that the pharmaceutical companies have overstepped to such a great degree that doctors, many doctors these days, have a checkbox list that they go through, and you're put within a box in that checkbox. And if you don't match one of those things, then you're going to go down a path that you don't want to go down. And they're not really looking at you anymore. They're looking at the norms across the board. And so I have an issue with the fact that, every solution is a pill. And every time I go to the doctor, it's like you're looking for something to find wrong about me when I'm living a perfectly healthy life.
Mm.
So I just kind of, I wonder. And I wanted to work, and doing the work that we do, I often wonder where the responsibility for the opioid epidemic from overprescription is ever going to land. I think somebody needs to own up for that.
I don't know. I know there have been lawsuits, right?
Yeah, but nothing so substantial that it's changed their behavior.
Why would it?
Yeah, they're making billions of dollars. You can pay 10 million. This is the math. I'll pay $10 million in a lawsuit, but I made $1.5 billion on it.
Right. Well, and that even goes for the COVID vaccine, right? I mean, you create this emergency vaccination, but then they wanted no liability for it.
Right. So how's that third
So,
arm? How's that third arm doing, Marwan?
well, a lot of stuff going on where you got people falling dead, a lot of
Yep.
young people, and it's like, well, is that from COVID or is that from the vaccine?
Yep.
Is that long term COVID? Who knows?
Yep.
But if we're not going to be honest about it, then we're not going to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. Actually, there's a YouTube influencer, Physics Girl, I think, who is in a hospital right now recovering from long-term COVID.
Mm.
Damn near killed her.
Yeah. Well, and it just goes to show. I mean, it's still here. It's
Yep.
like the flu now. It's going to be with us. Another thing.
Yep, it is. There is something I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to send you the link to it right now.
Sure.
And it's something that we've talked about before, and we're going to shift away from Ishmael for a moment to some degree. Let me. God, has Facebook been giving you problems, Marwan?
I actually haven't been on in the last few days because I've been in meetings and other things. So,
It has been driving me slightly crazy. I can't see any of my notifications on the Kids Up Resiliency Project page. It says there's a problem. We're working on it, and I'm saying work faster. It's been 2 days, and I haven't been able to look at my notifications or respond to people. Okay,
really?
I just sent you a link to an article.
Okay, let me grab it. It is efforting Okay. The Guardian. All right, let me pop that up for everyone here. I like when we share, articles and things.
Okay, get rid of the privacy thing at the bottom. That always,
Yeah, let me try.
just click the X on the right side.
Yeah, I just got to get there. I only have one screen today. I'm having,
There we
I'm
go.
having first world problems.
So the Guardian did research and found that the founder of the Guardian had a lot to do with the slave trade. And they have written a global apology and are putting a restitution fund together for the descendants. And I didn't know if you'd seen that article or what's going on with it, but I thought that would be something you would be interested in.
Maybe, well, yeah, definitely I'd be interested in it. I always, as soon as I hear that, we're taking accountability and we wrote an apology and then we're going to try to do this. It's like, so who was at the table there, right?
Yeah, well, they took this on themselves, apparently, and because they got some complaints and they went and researched it.
Mhm.
And they just basically, the Guardian is probably one of the most liberal, responsible papers. It's one of my go-tos for getting real news. And so I'm very happy to see that they were doing this, because I think this is what, this is what I put when I put it on the Kids Up Resiliency pages. This is what responsibility looks like.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, I know there's a lot of caveats, but on the surface, it looks like they're doing the right thing the right way.
Only if there are, foundational Black Americans and other people that suffered the atrocities of the transatlantic slave trade as part of that conversation, right? What I see is, and this goes for all things. So this one is this happens to affect me directly, but even if this was something else, if those that are affected aren't at the table, what I see that happens is it falls far short, right?
Absolutely.
If I think about capitalism, and if I think about Wall Street and interest and compound interest and things like that, right? All of a sudden, those things never seem to really be taken into consideration, right? What are the benefits of you being a company that has thrived for 200 years? Like Levi, I don't know how long Levi's been around, but I think they've been around since the 1800s, right?
Yep.
Is that
Yeah.
right? So, for you to be so powerful and have so much market share as a clothing brand, especially with jeans, and to thrive for all of those generations, how do you make that right? And that's just my thought on anything when people are going to make something right. If those people are a part of it, I'm pretty wary about that.
It is extremely hard not to be cynical in today's world, and I'm right there with you on that. On the other hand, I'm looking at this, and it's not everything, but it gives you an idea of it. And it sounds like they are actually trying to have the people that were most affected or generationally at the table.
And what was their, I can't wait to read the article. What was the owner's lineage in regards to slavery?
He was a cotton grower, and it's in the first section. And he basically, John Edward Taylor, at least 9 of his backers had links to slavers, principally through the textile industry. That was I read into the picture.
Wow.
And the Scott Trust, which was founded from them, is the parent of the Guardian newspaper.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that.
Okay, so anyway, that was my tie off for today. We're talking about Ishmael, and part of what we're talking about is the taker culture, and the taker culture is directly responsible for our behavior and our othering and and I would say it's a direct issue of slavery because of the assimilation processes started 15,000 years ago. And the slavery today, and let's just be real honest, for-profit prisons are slavery. It's our new version of it.
Well, I would say if you stagnate wages, I think that's also a form, right?
Absolutely. So our owners are now corporations as opposed to rich plantation owners in the South. And it doesn't matter what color your skin is or who you are. What matters is how much profit you can generate for them. And I know that that's a very challenging thing to say, but look around you. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I don't think that's challenging at all, right?
Yeah. So anyway, that's my show, my idea of the show for the day. I'm actually looking forward to next week's show a lot.
Oh,
I've actually got
well,
the next two. I've got the next two shows up already.
oh, really? Okay. Well, as the audience, well, we always have new viewers, so the topics are new to me. I don't know until I log in, and usually we don't even really discuss it the 5 minutes before we go live, right?
Yeah,
I just
plenty
get
other
it
things to
when
say.
it's there. You know, I might get, hey, upload this photo, upload this image, and that's it. So, you know, my reaction is fresh and unique. So I have no preconceived prep time on what this discussion is going to be about or where it's going to go.
Yep, and it takes us in all kinds of interesting directions.
Well, you know what, and I like that because
Mhm.
it helps me to be more authentic in my responses, right? I mean, having a thoughtful answer is important, right? We do need to measure twice and cut once, but the audience gets to get kind of my raw. This is how I'm taking it right off the bat, right? And maybe I'll amend my thinking or my response on it, but I think it's helpful to do that, and it's a great exercise in mixing your emotion and logic together, because we're not Spock, and even Spock struggle with emotions, right? And so those things are always going to be merged there, but to harness both of those for the greater good and to move things forward, I think is a great skill and talent that we all can use to sharpen in our toolbox.
Yep.
So I guess with that, because I can keep talking about this, I'm excited. I'm actually supposed to be somewhere really important. So I hate to end the stream, but we've actually been going. I think we've
Pretty much an
hit
hour. Yep.
Yeah.
59
So
minutes and 30 seconds.
How many?
59, 34, 35.
Oh, I see it there. Yeah, we got our whole hour in anyway.
Yep.
Shout out to Stephanie for holding down. I'm actually supposed to be at a grant reporting meeting, which I'm going to run to now, which was why we needed to do the show early, but it actually is ending at the same time. I'll be back in an hour, allegedly, for our housing conversation and then city council tonight. There is something about Wednesdays,
It is.
recording the episodes for BCAT, and just to let everyone know, 5:30 on BCAT, my new show airs, Conduits of Change, and these are African American stories, histories from folks that have been in Kitsap County for a very long time. Today was a great interview, so do check it out. You can go on there now and watch their videos on demand. Episode 1 is airing, but episodes will air Fridays at 5:30 on BCAT. So got a lot of stuff going on, doing a lot of good things. Mark, I want to thank you for always being flexible and riding the wave of my chaos, because I've got a lot going on. And the executive director of the Kitsap Regional Library yesterday was saying in our board meeting, hey, the first quarter is coming to an end. And it's like, holy smokes, man, we've already blown through the first quarter of 2030. I need some time.
Yeah, buckle up. It's going to get faster.
That's scary, man.
And here's one of the things that Marwan hasn't been informed of yet. I'm in conversations with the president of G2 about a new concept for short videos for Kitsap County. And he
Oh,
will tell you about
okay.
that in your next meeting.
All right. Well, I look forward to that. And I am going to bid you adieu, Mark, and invite everyone to come back in an hour. But for Mark Boatwright Frost, I am Marwan Cameron. This is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. This is The Conduit, y'all. We'll be back in an hour.